All right, guys, we are back with another great episode of Basscast Radio. I am Brian, your host, and Hank, the Bass Geek, my brother co-host. Always pleasure to have you with us tonight. What is happening, brother?
What is going on, man? Just living the grind, grinding to live. You know how it is.
Definitely understand that. What's been going on in your world, man?
Man, I don't even know if I told you guys, but I had my second granddaughter.
Yeah, you did. You dropped it on us.
I couldn't remember if I told you guys that or shared that.
Guys, he remembers last week's show, but he was a little under the weather. So
I was sick and on a lot of cough syrup. So it does happen.
Yes, it does.
But other than that, man, just getting some TikToks uploaded, dropped a new video, every Sunday, every Wednesday. So by the time you guys are hearing this, it'll be a day old. We did a review on the S2 slider by 13 fishing. And I don't talk about, when I do reviews, I don't do reviews and take them out of the box and look at them and say, this is a great reel, you should buy it. I take it out of the box, give you my first impressions, and then weeks or even months later, after fishing with it, I film what I think about it, using it for the specific technique I do. So, and I give them a rating, and I also put them in categories at the end of every single one of my videos. I call them average angler reviews. And I compare them against other rods, reels, and baits in that price category. So
in other words, you guys need to go over there and check that video out. And make sure you hit the like button while you're there. And if you're not following the channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well and the notification button so you do not miss an episode of Bass Geek.
That's right.
All right, so last weekend, guys, the Basscast.com was up on Smith Mountain Lake for the Angler's Choice Team Tournament Trails, stop number 1. And here you go. 25 pounds is what it took to win that event. So, and that's 5 bass for you guys that don't know what we're talking about now.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
And we're talking about not the best conditions for last weekend. I mean, windy. I mean, I posted a video online. If you guys didn't see that, I think I just put it in stories, but it was white capping out on Smith Mountain Lake last weekend. So yeah, it wasn't the best weekend of all, but congratulations to Chad and Elliot Pilson on winning that. It took, what is it? I think it said it took 16.28 pounds to get a check. They had 135 teams compete. So congratulations on them. 2541 on the basscast.com. If you guys haven't seen the post, it is up. Also this time I was able to get a lot of extra content, and we had a 7.5 pound lunker.
Nice.
So that video as well is up on the website. So like I said, thank you to everyone who's checked out all the extra content. 177 of you guys checked out the extra videos. Ben Hudson and his father up there, Rick Tilley Jr. and Senior, and then the man himself that caught the 7.5 pounder. So Kenny Kirby and his teammate. So head on over, check that out. But guys, tonight I'm rocking the Basscast Kayak Series hat. Our kayak series does kick off this weekend on Smith Mountain Lake. You have until Friday night to register through TourneyX. Everything you need to know for this event is up on the basscast.com. Just click the kayak series, kayak bass fishing news. It's all under there. And you guys can go check out what's happening. And also this year, we're using TourneyX. I think I said that. But you can actually keep up with the event. If you don't want to fish it, we'd love for you to follow us and see what the boys are catching. And you can, and I'll be honest, I'm not fishing it because I'm kind of hanging out here, make sure everything's good here for a while. Danielle is feeling better, guys. So that's pretty freaking awesome. The pills
good
are working.
Hear.
So we're gonna get her back into the swing of things. And yeah, next week, Carter will be back on the road heading to Clarksville, Virginia for English Choice again. And Danielle's gonna be going to Smith Mountain Lake. And it's gonna be a whole lot of stuff happening around here. So we're gonna get back into the swing of things. Let's hope we stay on track.
We will. We'll keep after it, man. Like I said, grinding to live and living to grind.
There you go. You got that right. So speaking of kayaks, we're gonna do a kayak show tonight. I don't think, have we done a kayak show together, Geek?
I don't think we have.
I don't think we have either.
I really don't think we have.
We tell you guys straight up, we don't matter who you are as long as you're in the fishing industry. We'll talk to you, man. About, whether you're a big time YouTuber like Hank the Bass Geek, or, you came out with some crazy product that, someone's never ever seen before. If you want to be on the show, just DM us, DM us. And I would love to have you on. And also, don't forget to like, share. You can do the same thing on podcast. You can leave a review, and it helps all the podcasts move up in ratings. And, it helps. It doesn't help us make any more money, but it helps get to more people. And that's the main thing behind this thing. So, but we appreciate you all. Tonight, we got Roanoke, Virginia's Justin Largen on with us. And he come up back from, he is heading home, guys, sitting in his car. You never know where we're going to talk to people. From the Harris Chain Bass Nation Kayak Series event, like I said, from Roanoke, Virginia, man. And it's crazy. I think if I scroll down, looked, the Lunker winner came from Clarksville, Virginia. So Virginia representing right here at this event.
We kind of made a clean sweep.
Yeah, Virginia kind of sweeped it over here. But guys, I haven't done this year yet. That's our sponsors for 2022. We got some new sponsors. We got Bass Tank. We got WW Novelty, Smith Mountain Lake Tackle Shop. You guys all heard about it. You guys all seen, John Sokup on a podcast. Bass Tank, man, get you set up, get your electronics together, and teach you how to use it. So give them a call, give them a shout, hit them up on social media. Smith Mountain Lake Tackle Shop is right at the, it's right there, right before you make the left to go to Crazy Horse Marina, where the Basscast.com tournament series is. And you break a rod, the Basscast series, come on back, drop it off, and let them repair it for you.
Wow.
Yeah, they got some. I'll tell you this. I went back here and looked one day, and he's building rods like a mofo back here.
That is wild.
He gets lots of big orders. I think he told me, and not only here, he ships orders out. So you heard it right here. You want a rod? He'll make it, build it, put the Basscast logo on it, make it green. He don't care. And he'll ship it directly to your house. English Choice Marine, WW Novelty, Lynchburg Arms and Indoor Shooting Range, and Conrad Brothers Marine. Want to thank all of them for sponsoring us. But guys, we want to thank this man right here, Justin Largen, for taking a little time out tonight and being with us tonight and talking about his big win on the Harris Chain of Lakes down in Florida. All right, guys, we are back with Mr. Justin Largen, who is still down in Florida traveling. So he's taking a little bit of time out to talk with us tonight. Welcome, brother, to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, Brian.
All right, let's get into this thing, man. Who is Justin Largen?
I don't know. I guess I'm just a guy who likes to fish. I do most of it out of a kayak, and almost all of it's chasing bass.
When did you first start out in that kayak?
In a kayak was probably about 10 years ago. I had seen some videos that Chad Hoover put out, and that kind of introduced me to it. And I saw some other videos that Jeff Little put out, and it looked fun. It looked a little simpler than what I had been doing. My first, boat was a those old pond prowlers that Bass Pro makes. It's like a little 8-foot like
Oh,
plastic
yeah.
square
Yeah.
Yes.
foam. And you gotta lug around. I mean, that thing was heavy, putting up on top of the car, and then you had a trolling motor that you had to lug around, and a big battery. And of course, I tried to rig up a cooler, fashion that into a live well. And I try to keep 5 fish like the pros and hold them up for pictures at the end of the day and stuff. But
That's awesome.
The kayak fishing looks simpler, and at that point I was working in DC, and sometimes I'd only have a couple hours, before or after work, and the kayak was perfect. I could just throw it in the car. I didn't need to take much stuff with me.
Yeah.
I had that Wood Systems Commander, and it was just really simple. I could get in one of those creeks, 15 minutes from work, and have an hour or two of fun before or after work. It worked out great.
So the whole fishing bug, what made you get into fishing, period, man?
I don't know. My dad, took my siblings and I out when we were little. I remember the first fishing I remember doing was on just a farm pond in North Carolina that we got permission to fish. And I enjoyed it, but it wasn't really an obsession, I guess. And then we moved to Virginia, and I remember fishing the Roanoke River. At that time, there was still like a season and an opening day, and there'd be just people, shoulder to shoulder in the river, catching those stock. And I was terrible at the trout. I remember, my brother and sister and I would be out there, and Dad was the one that would always catch stuff. But it wasn't until I was probably 12 years old, and I don't remember if it was a TV show that I saw, but something just made me think that looks really cool. And I remember at the library in Roanoke, they had a handful of books that were about bass fishing. I don't know how many times I must have checked those out, and Outdoor Life magazine, everything they had at the library, I was checking, reading. There was an old Paul Elias like VHS video.
Holy cow.
It had to be early 90s. And I remember he talked about, just a handful of lures. And this is back when he's sporting the giant beard. And it wasn't long after he'd won the Classic. And I don't know, 12, 13-year-old me was just soaking it in. And, what little money I had, I was picking up those $1 and $2 lures at Walmart and had a little tiny tackle box. And it just kind of grew. And, the more once I started figuring out and kind of catching my first fish on lures, I was hooked, and I've loved it since.
Do you remember your first tournament? It can't be that far long ago. 10 years. You're still young.
No. Well, I did a couple of at the time it was FLW BFLs just as a co-angler.
Okay.
I did a couple of, I think, right around the time I graduated college. So a while back, and I did those for a while and got frustrated with them. So much of it, the non-boater can't really control much. You're just, you're stuck with the draw. So I kind of got out of the tournament side of it and just was fun fishing. And I guess it was 2019. I was kind of tracking what was going on the national scene, through some of the, Greg Blanchard and Christine Fisher, their videos. Right. And I did one of these KBF monthly tournaments in 2019.
Oh, cool.
And did well. And then, that kind of made me feel like, I am okay at this. I won this little online deal, and, I was content with that for a while. I moved to California in 2020, was out there for about 18 months for work, and then decided to move back east, and, didn't have another job I was going to. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. I'd saved up a good bit of money. So I guess it was last January, I signed up at the last minute for the KBF tournament on the Kissimmee chain. Drove down the night before, had 4 hours of sleep or something, and then tried to fish it with no practice.
Oh,
it didn't go very well.
I bet it didn't.
But that was the first in-person, real tournament out of the kayak.
Wow. And then here we are today with this
Yeah.
man in Florida on the Harris chain.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
bet you went down and practiced for this one a little bit, didn't you?
oh yeah. I learned that lesson after the first one. We don't do the no practice thing. But not, I might, something like I was up in DC for so many years. I consider the Potomac my home water, so
Right.
I probably get away with not prepping for that one and still do okay. But man, that the fishermen just across the board are too good. You just can't walk in and expect to do well without practice. It happens every while somebody does does good and just figures it out today, but it's as much as you got to pay to enter. I'm not doing that again.
Well, let's talk about this. The Bass Nation Kayak Series. It's only been in existence for a couple of years now. But how did you qualify, or do you explain it to us? Geek don't fish out of a kayak. I fish out of a kayak. But for those who don't fish out of a kayak and new to it, and the kayak thing now is now it's the purses done got really crazy. But how did you qualify to be able to hold up this trophy?
It's actually, at least as far as I know, for bass, there's not really a complicated process. You just sign up. They're opens essentially.
Okay.
The championship, you've got to earn your way in.
Okay.
I believe they've modified it a little bit. I think from last year, I know they take the top 10% from every individual tournament. They call them regionals. I think now they do 5 regionals. So 2020, there's 5 regionals. They had the championship, which was everybody who qualified in 2021 got to fish that.
Okay.
And then they have, I think they're like Bass Nation clubs is what they call them.
Yep.
And there's, if you sign up and qualify through that, there's a certain number of people, depending on the size of the tournament, how many participants, you can qualify that way for the championship. But for these regionals, I mean, it's kind of like the old school invitationals. It's first come, first serve. You sign up and you're in.
How many participants were in this one?
This one was down. I think they had 80 initially, and it dropped. I think they had a couple no-show. I want to say it was like 78, 79.
Still pretty daggone good.
Yeah, it's not terrible. They had for whatever reason, I'm hearing just talking to other fishermen. Florida's a long drive for folks, so
it is.
The those is not as good as some of the other ones. There were 150 people at Lake Fork a month ago.
Oh wow!
So in these Hobie events, they have sold out the first, I think, through Chickamauga. So what is it? First 5 tournaments, I think.
Yes.
They've got full 200, which is amazing.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
It's pretty daggone good. And
yeah, 9 minutes, I think, to sell this last one out. Stupid
cow.
me did. Like they announced that it's going to be at noon on, I forget the exact date it was, but they announced it up front. And, I forgot to set an alarm. So I think it was around 1 o'clock when today's sign up day. And by the time I logged in an hour later, it had been sold out for almost an hour at that point.
That's crazy.
But I jumped on the waiting list, and I'm kind of still holding out hope. Part of why I was hanging down in Florida so long is I was hoping that there might be some people that back out of the Santee Cooper tournament, and I can sneak into that one. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, let's talk about practice, man. How did practice go for you for this event?
Practice was weird. The first day was awesome.
Okay. Literally
the first spot that I went to, it was kind of a smaller ramp. It looked cool. I did a fair bit of, satellite imaging and looking at different places. And this was one of the ones on the list. And the first place I went, I ran across some bedding fish and some big bedding fish.
Wow.
And it wasn't like, I've been on some places around here where like some of these smaller lakes where you'll go into a pocket and there's beds everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like that in this canal. It'd be one, and then you'd go 100 yards or more and find another one. And I went, it was probably a 2-mile stretch that I covered that first day, just basically standing up and paddling and getting real shallow to where I could see. And I think I had 10, maybe a little more than that, but I had about 10 waypoints where I found good ones and marked them. And, you try to line up some sort of visual, a stick or something on the bank that looks different. So you got a visual clue, get too close. But I shook off, I put in I was using just a screw lock, tying directly to that, and just screwed in my little missile quiver worm to that. So, cause I try not to hook them.
Yeah.
But sometimes when that fish bites, sometimes it gets the better of me. So I try to put myself in a position where I can't mess it up. And I shook off 2 big fish, that I was looking at. And there was a little bit of color in the water. So, and sometimes in shallow water, I have a tendency to big eye them. I'll look at a 3 and say it's a 5. But I've also done it the other way, looked at a 5 and it's a 9. So
right.
I decided after seeing all those fish that I found something special, and I decided that I found one that the female wasn't really locked on, but I decided, let me try and catch this one. And I put an actual hook in, and I justified it. Like, I've had sight fish burn me before, where you find some good ones, you leave them alone, you don't hook them, you come back to the tournament and they're gone, or somebody else is sitting.
Yeah.
I decided I'm going to stick one. I'm going to at least catch one, and that way, just in case I've got one, and I'll know how big they are. And that one fish that I stuck was right at 7 pounds, 23 inches.
Wow.
So I was very excited. I knew that fish wasn't going to bite again. I didn't think she was going to stick around that nest either, but there were enough other ones that were, there were 2 that were really close to that. I think 3 that they might not have been quite 7, but they were close.
Holy
so
cow.
I was very excited. I've never been big bedfish in an area like that and seen them all in one day. So
the actual
that was
event,
kind of
that was your plan?
That was the plan, and I decided, all right, I need to have a backup. So I checked out a couple other lakes on the second day, and my plan the third day was to go back to that ramp, go the other direction, and see if I could find some additional beds just to have something else close by. And
Now go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
So you had 2 days of practice?
3. So
3. Wow.
That first day, we're allowed 3. And that's actually one of the things I like about bass is they have an off limits period.
Yeah.
So there's some people down in pre-practice, but I like the fact that there's a 4-day window right before the official practice starts where you can't be on the water. And a lot can change in 4 days. So you can pre-practice.
Oh yeah.
It's different with, it might be similar, but 4 days, a lot can happen.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that it's cut off and you can't, I'm probably one of the people that has the most free schedule right now, but I don't like the idea of going down there and practicing for a month. I feel like that's an unfair advantage over other people. And I like the fact, in these bass events, nobody else can do that. Sure, you can go down and pre-practice, but, then there's an off limits period and then, official practice. So I like it. I like 3 days. 3 days is enough. And the fish that I ultimately caught in the tournament were ones that I found that second day at a completely different lake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went back Friday to those same fish. Before I decided to expand, I wanted to just go back and check on those fish, make sure they were still there. And I felt like it would help me, seeing the beds again and exactly where the fish were positioned. It would help me remember. Because we launched fairly early, and it was going to be a while before the sun was up enough where you could see very well. So I wanted to be able to blind cast to them if possible, but I couldn't find them. And I talked to some guys at the ramp who said that had been in the area where I was.
Oh,
The
darn.
the previous day,
Mm.
and that
He saw
told-
you. He saw you.
I don't know. Like when I was actually there, nobody saw him. Like there were 3 boats that all zipped past. They were
Right.
going to one. So I don't know if it was just a local that knew that's a good spawning area, or he could have just been blind fishing. But what I heard was that somebody went back in there and just crushed them.
Oh, wow.
And with a grand, no, it's just dock talk, or it could be one of the other competitors, trying to mess with your head. But I went back there and they weren't there. So whether somebody caught them or whether they just finished up the spawning and moved on, those females were gone. So I fished around, just kind of blind fishing. There was some decent grass in that canal. I tried punching that. I tried just sort of flipping the outside edges of it, and I wasn't getting bit. And I hadn't brought a whole bunch of rods with me to try top water,
Right.
that hybrid hunter that I caught some fish on the other lake. All I had was a couple of rods, just with those screw locks, just different size weights on them. For the I was planning to just bed fish, so I really felt like when I couldn't find them that night, it was kind of felt like I had a couple options. One option is go in there and just try to just fish, and maybe you run across some decent fish that are in the area. I could go to the area that I found on the second day where I had caught 1.5 and some decent fish in a little stretch, or I could try and find something completely different and just completely different water. And I decided that it didn't make sense to do that.
Right.
Florida fish that I was talking to Casey Reed, after we had to be off the water on Friday, and we were talking about how just everything down there looks awesome. I mean, you got lily pads and reeds and different grass and docks, and everything looks great down there. But the fish will be in specific areas for whatever reason. You'll have them grouped up. So I was thinking about that conversation that night while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I decided, I had found some fish in a fairly small stretch, and I think I caught 4, maybe 5.
Wow. And
I wasn't sure if I'd burn the area up, just sort of fishing that little plug. But I decided it made sense to at least start there. And if I could get a couple fish, I thought that sort of shad spawn going on. If I could get some bites there in the morning, I could always, leave midday and go back to that canal and try to catch some of the males. I felt like there were a couple males still around that were, I could fill out a limit with. And so that was the game plan going into Saturday. And it just kind of worked out.
So Saturday, guys, you went to Trout Lake. Is that correct?
I did. It's the smallest lake in there, and I normally trying to be the first guy to the ramp or anything. I try to time it so I get to the ramp, I got enough time to get everything ready, and then I'm not sitting around waiting to launch. That I'm pretty much finishing up about the time we're allowed to leave the bank.
Right.
There was such limited parking there. I mean,
dang.
I was.
How many anglers showed up in that little lake then?
Yeah.
Just one. It was me and a guy, Danny, from Jersey, and we were talking beforehand, and he was planning to fish Eustis. So I was like, shoot, I'm gonna have it to myself. I was thinking, the day I practiced, there were several other kayaks that were launching there, and I saw a couple other guys on the water, but I didn't really know till that morning that it was just going to be me in that lake.
Well, we know the missile baits quiver was the main bait that you caught most of your fish on. Guys, go ahead.
It was kind of it definitely got me my biggest bite, and it got me a big upgrade at the end of the day. But that was kind of my secondary deal. I started with that crankbait plug grass, and then after that fizzled, say around, I don't know, 11:30, 12.
When that sun got
probably
warmed
my last.
up.
Yep. And there was a stretch of hydrilla
Okay.
And then there were these entrance canals, and it was kind of like a residential area, a bunch of homes all kind of in this community, and I guess you call it a seawall that ran along the face of those canals for a couple hundred yards. And the wind was just blowing right into the seawall and right into the grass. And then if you go past the seawall, there were some tules or reeds, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And a bunch of tilapia in there, but I figured it was worth, making a few flips in there. So I had that missile quiver and I was flipping that in the grass, and I ended up catching a couple small fish in there. So I had it on the deck with me with, basically I had 2 rods out, that medium heavy 7-foot Quantum Smoke, and I had the I guess it's a medium heavy moderate, the Smoke X cranking combo that I was throwing that Strike King plug on. And when I went back down the wall, I was just kind of alternating. I'd hit the grass a couple times, and then I'd leave it alone for a little bit and go work the wall and then come back. I tried coming at it from different directions, just mixing it up. And I actually made a color change at one point that made a difference. I was throwing just a gold sided with flash, and that's what I caught the fish in practice on. That's what I got my first 2 bites on. And when I made a couple passes with nothing, I switched up to this. I don't even remember what the color's called, but it's like a white. It's got kind of a pink hue on the side of it.
Okay.
And when I made the pass with that, was when I got a 5, which was my second biggest fish. And then I went to that wall, and I'm throwing that plug against the wall again after hitting the reeds. And I thought I saw fish break against the wall. It was kind of hard to tell if it was an actual boil, just because the way the waves were bouncing in, they kind of slap against that wall. I'd literally just thrown at this corner with that hybrid hunter. I'd made 2 casts right there, and then I see a boil on the surface, and I wasn't 100% sure that's what it was, but I picked up the worm and just pitched it in there, and it didn't hit the bottom. When I lifted up, the fish was was moving off the wall. That was my biggest fish. And it's weird. I never would have thought to pitch the worm against a wall like that, but it worked. It's my biggest fish of the day, and of course at that point I'm screaming, and it's kind of cool. There was a pool that I guess all those residents used.
Yeah.
Like a community. So they're basically just on 20, 30 yards from me. So they heard me screaming, and everybody standing up and taking pictures and looking at the fish. And one of them came over, and a nice lady took a couple pictures for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I put on a show for him for a little bit.
All right, guys.
And
So here's what that day ended up for him. He had a 22 and a half, well, not even a half, 22.25,
Yep.
a 21 and a half, a 17 and a quarter, a 16.25, and a 15 and a half, which won him $4,000 down in Florida. And you won.
Yep.
But now, guys, for you guys who don't know the kayak thing too much, or new to the kayak part of it, that's inches, okay, guys? And he won with a 4.5 inch margin over Brandon Berlinski.
Yeah, it was 4 inches is a lot for a kayak tournament,
Yes.
but it was very close. Like, if you take away that, I think I had a 12-incher was my small fish at the time that I caught the 22. I mean, that was a giant call for me. And there were a ton of guys who were in that, mid to high 80s range.
Mm-hmm.
And had any one of them caught another big fish, they'd have been, another, 20 plus, they'd have been right there with me. I mean, it was, for Florida, it was fishing off a little bit. Most of these tournaments, national level tournaments, it's, if you don't have 100 inches, you're not close. I had it. Even I kept working that wall and got that 17 and that was huge for me. That got rid of another small fish that was like several inches that I called up. I think I had 90 at the time, and that jumped me to like 93. But I was sure that I needed one more. Felt like I had to get rid of that 15 incher. And, you know, when I checked the leaderboard, I was just surprised. I felt like there were people that were sandbagging that just, you know, maybe they were in a remote area that hadn't fished yet. I really was expecting, you know, a bunch of bags in that 90-inch range. And I think the pressure that the fish got from the elites ago, and then,
Yeah, because the elites have been
right
down there and beating it up pretty good.
Yeah, the elites beat it up, and then right after the elites, the MLF guys were there.
That's true.
Mhm.
It was back to back like that, yeah. And then a kayak series.
And the first day of practice, I actually ran into Christian Greco. He was, you know, I guess going the other direction, headed back to weigh-in. He had I wouldn't even recognize him, but I saw the camera boat following him, and I was like, wait a second, did a double take. And I'd seen his YouTube stuff. That guy's a hammer down there in Florida. And he ended up winning. So that was kind of seeing him, and I was like, ooh, maybe it's a sign or something.
So how does it feel, man, holding up your first Bassmaster trophy and only tournament fishing, you know, trying to cash checks for just a couple of years?
It's awesome. I mean, I feel really blessed. I'm extremely thankful for it. I had my second, you know, I told you guys about the Kissimmee chain that was kind of a disaster. My first tournament,
right?
My second tournament, Fork, and I ended up finishing second. You know, I missed out by a 1/4 inch.
Wow.
Nate Gloria that tournament with 98 inches. I had 97 3/4. He would have beat me with big fish if we'd tied. So technically, I needed a 1/2 inch to beat him.
Wow.
But you know, I felt like, oh, you know, I practiced for this one. I've got this thing figured out now after 2 tournaments, and I was grateful to have that finish. I mean, it was an awesome feeling, but I felt like it was going to happen again. Like, oh yeah, this is just how it's going to be now. And the rest of the year, it was very humbling because it's not like that every tournament. These fields are stacked. There's a lot of great fishermen out there, and it's really hard to put together, you know, days like that where you just have a lot of tournaments where stuff doesn't go your way. And I definitely appreciate this one, knowing, you know, how difficult it is to do now. I mean, I failed a lot last year, made a lot of mistakes, stuff that, you know, had I been fishing some of the local tournaments first to kind of get my feet wet, I might have made the mistakes there. But I mean,
all in, weren't you? All in, weren't you, son?
I was all in, but man, it hurt me at a couple points. Like I had to, you know, fish DQ'd because I got in a hurry and excited, did get my identifier all the way in the picture, and just lots of mental mistakes and missed fish that could have made a difference. And it's a different feeling, you know, when you're going out there fun fishing. It's you know, it's a little more relaxing. You know, I still kind of tell people it's, you know, bass fishing with lures to me is more like hunting. It's like you're out there looking for the fish, and you're not just kind of sitting there on the bank with a, you know, cane pole. It's you're active. But these tournaments, it's a whole different level. You start to get that, you know, that heart's racing. And I mean, for this one, I didn't think I was winning at the time, but I felt like I was close. In the last couple of hours, man, they were nerve wracking. I was just like, I just need one more. And, you know,
it's kind of like the big bass tour up here on Smith Mountain Lake's like, please don't catch a lunker. Please don't catch another lunker. I mean, you know, you're seeing 7s, you're seeing 8s, and you got an 8.5, and you're like, please don't.
Yeah, let me.
And always the big one's always caught on Friday, so you got 2 days to sweat. I mean, it's not always. I mean, it's probably like 90% it's caught on Friday, and the last 2 days you're sitting there like sweating. Like I could have an opportunity to win a brand new Nitro valued at $50,000, or nothing but $1,000.
It's amazing how, you know, the difference sometimes between first, a couple ounces, a couple inches, like how much difference that makes.
Yes.
Like I don't, you guys followed the Bass Nation or Kayak Bass Series Championship a couple weeks ago, but John Mitchling from Maryland finished second to Eric.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was a quarter inch. So
Wow.
I've been where I know what
Wow.
that feels like, but the difference in pay was, I mean, Eric walked out with a $20,000 check, and John got $2,500. I mean, for basically the difference of your pinky.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're talking. I mean, it's almost like the difference between a boat and gift certificate or something. It's everything really has to go your way for these things, and I was just fortunate. Everybody struggled a little more than that.
So this event qualified you for the 2023 Kayak Series Championship. I know it's not out there, guys. It's not released where it's going to be it is next year, isn't it? Where would you like for it to be? Where would you like to see it that would play good? Or back down to Harris? I mean.
Oh yeah, I love fishing Florida. It's Florida, you got a chance to catch the biggest bass of your life on any cast. So it's Florida and Texas are special. But I thought they'd announce. I know they keep it close to wherever the classic is, and I can't remember if it's Tennessee or Kentucky.
Tennessee's a classic.
Is it?
Yeah.
So I think it's somewhere in Tennessee, and I haven't fished a whole lot in Tennessee, so it doesn't matter a whole lot to me. I mean, honestly, I'd never fished Richard Russell before a couple of weeks ago when we had the practice leading up to the championship, and I had a good finish there. So either way, I think it's going to be a place that I've never seen before. So it's going to be kind of a cool experience learning a new lake.
Awesome. Dude, man, we appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you talking to us tonight, talking to us about the event. Congratulations on your first big win. I'll be in Tennessee next year. Bass Geek will be there on there as well. If he better not miss this one.
I will be there.
So he will be at the 2023 Bassmaster Classic. I did go out at the Classic this year and got to see, the kayak championship and the person being crowned and all that stuff. And it's pretty daggone neat how they have it all set up and what they do. And, the Dwayne and Tourney X and how far that's come. I mean, I've been doing this long enough, guys. I remember when Tourney X was a dream and it just had gotten started.
Mm-hmm.
And now he wants to sell it to me for $5 million. So, I mean, so, I mean, this thing has come a long freaking way for Dwayne and his family and, the world of kayak fishing. I mean, guys, $4,000 fishing out of a kayak. Whoever would have thought about that? And even now, you guys think about it, the KBF events and some of the bigger events are paying $25,000 to $50,000 to the winner.
Oh yeah. And anybody that's out
there. And Hobie, I forget about them too.
Yeah, Hobie I think was 35.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, the 35,000. Yeah.
I mean, there's pretty good money out there, but for anybody that's kind of on the fence about doing one of these, give it a shot. I mean, you would be surprised. There's a lot of guys out there that are running really fancy equipment and they got the best electronics and motors and all that. I'm not running a motor. You can do it without a motor. I've got a Hobie Outback with a pedal drive, and I've only had that thing a year. And there's guys out there that are nice. There's guys winning these things, doing really well paddling. I mean, you don't have to have the fanciest kayak.
You don't have to have all that.
You can go out there. There's guys that, I've gone to some of these award ceremonies, the tournaments where I didn't do very good, and I want to hear about how guys caught them. And a lot of times it's not one thing. It's guys doing all different things. I mean, you can, whatever your strength is, you can make it work. There's guys that go around with a Senko, and I've seen them, do really well.
That's awesome.
I mean, keep throwing a Senko around docks or grass or whatever. It's really anybody can get into this. That's the cool thing about it.
So, guys, like he just said, anybody can get into this. For you guys who don't know, the basscast.com has had a kayak series for the last 2 years. This is our third year, I think it is, of the Basscast kayak series. I can't keep up anymore. Going out of Smith Mountain Lake this Saturday. So head on over, check all that out. If you're looking to fish your very first tournament, and I want to say, I have to look it all up, but I don't think it's like 25 to 30 bucks. I mean, that's all it is for day of fishing. And you could win $200 or $300. I mean, it's all based on how many people sign up. And I think right now we're sitting at about 20, probably some more, maybe signed up. Hopefully the weather's supposed to change up here on Smith Mountain Lake. It's supposed to get a cold front coming through. That's why a little while ago during this episode, we had thunder and lightning going on. Woohoo! So
shoot, I might sign up for.
So come on out. Everything is on the basscast.com. You guys heard it right here. Get your feet wet. Get into the world of kayak fishing. Guys, last year, I think it was our first event on Smith Mountain Lake. We all got beat by some Zebco rods and reels.
Wow.
From Walmart. You don't have to have the best of the best.
No.
I mean, he beat 35, it was like 30 some anglers with Zebco at Walmart. So, I mean, and he won like 2 events, I think, last year, this gentleman did.
Oh, wow.
Zebco. So you talking about like he might have $200 worth of rods and reels and has 6 of them and, you know, whatever, tied up in plastics. So, but you don't need that. I'll be honest with you guys. I only carry 3 rods with me. I say if I can't win it with that, I ain't carrying the whole daggone thing. I've seen these guys carry 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 rods. They got them wrapped all the way around that box. Hell, I'd be confused by the time that damn thing's over with. So, I mean.
Simpler is sometimes better, Brian. I agree with you.
Amen. I really am simple. I mean, it's all labeled. It's all sitting over here to my left. And I got everything. Baskey's got a nice setup at home. And once I get organized and ready to go, I just come down here and grab me about 4 boxes. I throw them in my crate and a pair of pliers and a good old bottle of garlic, and I'm ready to go.
Hey,
I'm the exact opposite. I got probably 50 rods in the boat, more tackle than I could ever need. And
Justin, man, we really appreciate you representing the state of Virginia. Congratulations again. Thank you for coming on and telling us your story about kayak fishing. And hopefully this will inspire more people to go out and enter and fish. You ain't got to fish with us. There's a Carolina division if you're down that way. I mean, we'd love to have you. I'll tell you this, guys, right now, and I can back this up. I think we got someone coming from Maryland. We got a boat from West Virginia fishing with us. So, I mean, we are blessed to have a lot of different people from a lot of different locations that are fishing with the Basscast Kayak Series. So
it's a great way to get into a great sport at an affordable price.
And actually, just a quick update. I just did it. We got 21 kayaks that are going to be there.
Heck yeah.
We got Stephen Smith from Maryland. And we have, we got Victor Hendricks from West Virginia. But I think, and Caleb Fryer from North Carolina. And the rest of the other 18 anglers. I think 17, 18 are from right here in Virginia. So, well, brother, you have a safe trip home, and we look forward to talking to you again really soon.
Thank you very much. I hope so.
All right, man, we appreciate Justin for coming on and talking with us tonight. Congratulations to him, Harris Chain of Lakes, Bass Nation Kayak Series. I mean, hopefully get us on up here and fish us with the basscast.com this Saturday. For you guys that don't know, it's only $30 to fish a kayak tournament with the Basscast. I mean, $30 could win you 100, 200, 300. So optional big fish is $5. So if you want to put that in, it's another $5. But yeah, you can go on TourneyX and register if you haven't signed up and filled out a release form. You need to do that on the basscast.com. But the cool thing is, guys, with TourneyX and us going to TourneyX in 2022, you can actually have this app on your phone and just be watching people measure fish and putting them
That's
right in a
pretty cool.
computer. It does cut off. I think we have it set up where it cuts off an hour before the event ends. And so we do have like an award ceremony. And, you know, some guys are type, you know, they'll wait all day and throw it all in there. Be like, you know, I ain't catch nothing. The next thing you know, you look on a damn thing, 55 inches, and you're like, oh. But a lot of people will, you know, update throughout the day. So again, 21 anglers signed up. And they'll probably get another 1 or 2 more. I'm hoping 25 is what I like to see. Be a nice good payout for somebody for the very first Basscast Kayak Tournament Series, stop number 1 of the 2022 season. So that's it for me tonight, man.
Like I said, man, you know, the kayak tournament series, kayak tournaments have done a ton to really grow the sport.
It has.
So, you know, there's a lot of good grassroots tournament fishing going on.
And you don't.
My question.
Go ahead.
Is I can't wait to see, because I got a buddy who's a big time kayak tournament angler. So my question is, how much is the forward facing sonar going to start changing the kayak scene also?
Oh yeah.
Because he's got one, and
Uh-oh.
I talked to him just yesterday. He's upgraded to a Hobie, and he's like, man, he's like, that thing is making it different. I said, yes, sir. I said, yes, sir. I told you.
It's anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000. It's like $2,000 or $3,000 for a Hobie.
Yeah. And that, you know, that's the other thing. I mean, so here's the next question. Being an old school bass angler. Now I get it. Some people just like the kayak fishing for the kayak fishing. You know, kind of like, you know, some guys like to fish without grass for the grass.
Oh yeah.
For the art of it, well, for lack of a better term. But at what point in time, if you're competing and you're winning at the kayak level, do you start looking at it and saying, well, if I'm winning 30,000 here, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Why can't I win 50?
Yeah.
Or 100?
Yeah.
You know?
I get what you're saying.
So.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. And now, you know, and you know, like Geek saying, you know, his friend at the Hobby, but you don't need to buy expensive kayak either.
No.
I mean, guys, I have a milk crate that came from Target. It's $2. That holds everything that I put in my kayak for the weekend. Now I did get the rod holder accessory kit, which holds 3 rods attached to your milk crate. I think that was like $15. I got $20 in this milk crate.
Yeah.
That holds everything. You can get a little fancy packets and all that stuff to hold some things, and you can go all crazy. But I will tell you this: if you want to go cheap on a kayak, find you a good cushion to go in and kayak cushion makes a good cushion. Because you're out there for 8 hours. And then, you know, a lot of people will stop. I'll be honest, I can do about 3. I'm almost 50 years old. I can do about 3, maybe 4 in that kayak. And I got a big 11.5 foot kayak, Wilderness Systems Ride 115. And I have to get out and walk.
Yeah.
For at least 15 to 20 minutes. I mean, it's, you know, it ain't like a boat, but.
I mean, that, you know, that's kind of like who I never can remember her name, though. You know, I seen a story, the girl, she's a YouTuber that won that $30,000 tournament last year.
That's who we were speaking of earlier. Watching her, some of her videos. And, I can't remember her name either. But. And
her whole rig, you could buy a bass boat for. Not a new bass boat, but you know.
And that's where I thought you were going. I thought that's where, to be honest, I was like thinking, I was like, that's where he's going with that question is, you know, at a certain point, when do you make that decision, even to update to a aluminum 150 rain,
Yeah.
from nitro or something, aluminum nitro or whatever it is, and get it for 15,000? I mean, you're looking
Yeah.
the Hobie's 3, another electronics 3, 4. If you put all this new stuff, if you add all this new stuff, then the rods and reels, but you're still, even at that,
It's
only good
still, but I think I think her rig was like 26 or $30,000 rig.
Good God.
And that's her saying it. And I'm like, what? I'm like, but it's going to happen. Me and you've talked about this even at the low level. You start having prizes of 20, 30, 40, $50,000.
Yep.
People are going to try and get every edge they can get.
And now, Iconelli, he's the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And
Look
now
at the rig he's got.
And now you have, and he fished out of Hobie. And now you have, Brandon Polinick, him and his wife bought kayaks.
Yep.
So, I mean, now you're thinking like, hey, if the whole thing's going through a big change, because what's going to happen is you're going to have 4 or 5, 6 anglers, professional anglers, come back and fish this thing.
Yeah.
And, a lot's going to change. You're going to see a lot of changes. But like I said, I mean, why would you not come back? I mean, as who loves fishing, fish out of a kayak, you ain't burning a drop of gas. You're killing a trolling motor battery if you got a trolling motor on the back. And, you could win 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, $25,000, $30,000.
Yeah. It's, I mean, there's a lot of questions for me. I know I can get a good bass boat for $25,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sat back and
you can buy an express boat for that. Brand new.
It's an interesting, it kind of begins, at what point are the larger, are we going to put a stop? And I've said this for years. The only reason that bass fishing is, tournament level bass boat, the traditional style is so big is because when it first started out, there was a 150 horse limit on it.
That's
true. Then they went to 200. Then they went to 250.
Yep.
And so with the 250, you can build a more expensive, bigger boat, and because you got the motor to push it. And so, at what point are we going to see kayak fishing go that same way? And that part makes me sad because of what kayak fishing can be to guys that can't afford a bass, even a $25,000 bass boat.
Man, we're gonna have to wrap this show up. But that is you're good, because that is that's something we debate all the time. It's like, do you want to have a series where trolling motor is allowed and one series where trolling motor is not allowed? It's one of those things where I don't have a trolling motor, guys. I paddle. So, I mean, I paddle everywhere. So it's like, do you want to have 2 different series? What do you want to do? I mean, it's kind of one of them up, down question marks.
Yeah.
But, for now, it is what it is. And we're just going to roll on with the kayak thing. And we have a great group, guys. Come on out, fish with us. We'd love to have you. Love for you to be a part of the Basscast Kayak Series. Brandon Overstreet, thank you for him. He's our tournament director, and he's been our tournament director since we started. So come on out if you love kayak fishing. Like I said, you don't have to have a big boat. Just make sure just make sure you got something that's comfortable for you, because I hate to have to pick you up out of it, to be honest. Some days legs all locked up like crap.
That's the reason I ain't done it, because it's like I said, I ain't seen a fat man look comfortable in a kayak yet.
Dang.
So I'm either A, going to have to lose weight, or B, find a kayak that really is super comfy for a fat boy. It's got like a lazy boy recliner in it.
Well, guys, have a great week. Have a great weekend. Be safe out on the waters always. Make sure you have your life jacket on. And that's one thing I've got a life jacket sitting here somewhere, and it was well over $100. But don't go cheap on something like that. I mean, you only live one time.
Yep.
So make sure you follow. Make sure you like. Make sure you check out Bass Geek. And you guys have a great weekend and be safe.